Don't lie. Telling you, don't lie. You're probably driving in a car by yourself, so you're going to be lying to yourself. I can't even see you. But have you ever really been scared of getting no before? I'm telling you, it's one of those things that's common because too many of us as sales reps, we just don't like it. We hate it. Nobody, actually, no human being just like to be told no over and over again, but we choose a profession where people tell us that all the time. How do you cope with that, man? Probably got some psychological mess up going on in your head. We all have those issues, but we can learn to overcome the no's, and we can recognize how no's can actually be in our favor. And on today's episode, we're going to talk exactly about that. This episode is brought to you in part by Sales Success Summit. If you're a sales rep and you're looking for ways to improve your skills, you want to learn from the top 1% of sellers, you need to attend Sales Success Summit. The event is held this year, October 14th through 15th in Austin, Texas. To find more information, visit the show notes or go to top1summit.com. Again, top1summit.com. This episode is also brought to you in part by TSE Certified Sales Training Program. Learn how to find more ideal customers, build stronger value, close more deals. There are 12 modules available in the program. The first 2 modules are absolutely free. Test them out for yourself. Go to thesalesevangelist.com/free course. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this particular episode, we have an amazing guest. His name is Cisco Toreros, and Cisco was introduced to me by a good friend of ours called Brad Westover, also down here in South Florida. Now, the cool thing about Cisco is that he's been down the sales path, and he works a lot with individuals. He does a lot of selling. He has to sell individual. He has to sell the teams. He has to do a lot of different selling, a lot of different people. So getting no is something that he's familiar with. He's been there. I've been there. You've been there. And it's not easy to accept right away, but you can learn how to deal with no's. Now, he's going to talk about that. He's going to break the process down and share with us some examples and how he's done it. And he has a really cool story how he helped another sales rep, one that wasn't even on his team, somebody that was trying to sell to him, but I won't give it all away. You'll find out that information later. Now, Cisco has been recognized as Utah Business Journal Chief Marketing Officer of the Year in 2018. Cisco has also had a successful career in sports marketing where he has started and sold several startups and worked in the brand and agency world alike. Most recently, Cisco co-founded Felkrem, a full-service sports marketing representation firm helping professional footballers and brand pivots towards success. Their core service are marketing, consulting, and athlete management. Cisco believes his career has been fully shaped by his skills and tools he's learned from his multifaceted experience within the industry, but strongly believes his success have been a result of learning how to sell. We're going to dive in and go straight in talking a little bit more about Cisco, as well as understanding what a no really is. Welcome to the show, Cisco.
Hey, man. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Man, I'm super stoked to have you on this episode. I think we're going to have a good time chatting today, and I know you're going to bring us some great insights on why getting a no is not such a bad thing. And we'll wonder how we can accept it.
For sure. I hope that some of my negativity can teach some other people, and I've learned the hard way. So my goal is, hopefully people don't have to learn the hard way.
Well, very true on that, man. Well, before we dive into all that fun stuff, Cisco, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
For sure. So I am the co-founder of a full-service sports marketing agency called Felkrem. My co-founder and I, we have 2 core services. Number 1, we represent professional footballers, professional soccer players in American language, and their careers on and off the field. And our second core service is we consult brands and reaching their target demographics through sports and marketing. Naturally, because of what we do, although we're FIFA agents and we're marketers, what we're doing every day is sales. We either are selling to parents and to kids who we want to sign to our firm, or we're selling these kids now that they're part of our firm. We're selling them to teams or to sponsors. And then on the second core services, we're selling our experience and our expertise as marketers or sports marketers to brands who may utilize our energy and our understanding to navigate and reaching their target demos.
Man,
so that's in a nutshell what we do. Yeah, it's definitely fun. It's very challenging. It's emotional whack-a-mole is the best way to explain it. There's a very famous comedian named Ryan Hamilton, and he always refers it as emotional whack-a-mole. Yeah. So emotional whack-a-mole is that idea of, there's so many no's that you get before a potential yes, and that's what it is, man. This industry is very cutthroat. There's so many large agencies. We feel like we're a bottom feeder shark, and there's these giant sharks around us, and so navigating through those waters is kind of difficult. But we're surviving, we're thriving, we're growing very rapidly, and we're very excited for our future.
Well, cool, man. I'm looking forward to talk about it. So is it like Jerry Maguire? Can I just say, show me the money?
That's exactly. It's funny because, when I explain to people what I do, if they've seen that movie, it explains exactly how it is. That emotional roller coaster of dealing with humans and their emotions as they're dealing with their profession. And remember, we're not only dealing with their professions, we're actually dealing with their dreams. These are some, professional athletes have grown up and been raised dreaming of becoming professional athletes. And we're the ones in the middle of it all. So you can imagine how emotional that can be.
Oh my goodness, dude. It sounds like this big task all in itself. And you, my friend, have that point of making it happen. I'm getting nominated or getting picked by a huge team, and you're here to make it right by me. So, dude.
For sure. That's my job, is to make him look good.
Well, make us look good today as we talk about this topic, getting no's. As a sales rep, no matter who you are, as a business owner, like you said. And I feel that sometimes I've been in that situation too, Cisco, where I was afraid of it. I didn't want to hear the no, and I didn't know how to accept it. So I want to glean from you, from your experience, why getting no is not such a bad thing. I know you're a big believer in that. It's not such a bad thing.
For sure.
How to go about doing it. So let's start off with the first part. Why do sellers hate getting no? Tell me that in your opinion.
Listen, before I start, I need to preface that I've been doing this for 17, 18 years, and still to this day, I hate no's. It wrecks me, but I've learned to get myself out of it. So with that said, since our jobs as sellers depend on how many yeses we get, literally we are managed and we are measured by how many yeses we get, we take that no so much harder. And if you think of the animal kingdom, for example, and the jungle, the lion is the one that rules. He gets the prey, and he has a natural instinct to turn a lot of those chases or a lot of those, potential sales opportunities into actual food. In our case, it's a yes, right? It's not food. Well, some of us, it may mean food in the table for our families, but is that yes, right? I would argue that the lion wouldn't be the king of the jungle if he got down on himself every time a gazelle or a zebra or whatever the crap is they eat got away from him. And I think that we need to start thinking like that, because if we got down on ourselves, we wouldn't be that lion. We wouldn't be the king of the jungle. In our society, we're psychologically taught that hearing a no is a very negative thing, is awful. So naturally, when people who sell, like us, for a living, hear that no, which is a very common step in our sales process, we have this chemical imbalance in our brains and in our heart, and this is actually scientifically proven, that produces sadness and negativity. And it's our job to be able to overcome that. So I think that's the reason why sellers hate no so much, is because we literally depend on the yes.
Interesting that you would share it like that. The lion, I just saw The Lion King, and my wife and I, and when you watch like the real Discovery Channel, the real lions, they miss a lot of.
For sure.
You see the cool chases where they're chasing this gazelle, but for the most part, bro, it's probably, I can't know this. I don't know exact stats. I don't want to make something up, but it's got to be probably get at least 20% of the hunt that they go on.
For sure. And I guarantee you that as hunters, these lions have that matrix down. They must. If not, they wouldn't be the king of the jungle. Especially because, as you point out, as I've seen the Discovery Channel, when a gazelle gets away, they're like, no, okay, whatever, I'll get you next time. And they walk away with pride. And I think we need to do that. I think it is our job as salespeople to walk away and be like, I'm going to get you on the next one.
Or, because if you think about the savannah too, there's so many gazelle multiplying over and over. And you go for, here's the other thing too. And I think this comes with years of, animal evolution or whatnot. I saw with some of the Lions is that they don't necessarily go for the biggest and the fastest. I'm sure it took time before they realized, crap, that small one or that one that's older is probably the best one. And I think that helps us in sales. Sometimes when you miss one, you learn that let me change my game and go for something else. You know what I mean?
For sure. I have an experience a couple of years ago when I was at a different firm and I wanted to make an impact right away. And I was going after that $1 million sale over and over and over and over. And I realized I don't need that to make an impact. Those sales are a lot more difficult. So why don't I get, $200,000 sales that will get me to that million that much faster? And it wasn't until I started tweaking that is when I started understanding. So that's a very good point. But again, and we'll talk about it more later on, but we need to identify, and we need to understand that a no is actually part of the process that is going to help us understand what we need to do, what we need to tweak to get to those yeses.
And that's what kind of roll right into it. What does it mean to you when like a no, when it comes? Is that what it comes in your mind? Is that what triggers that I am naturally going to go through this?
Because that is as simple as that. To me, a no means one step closer to a yes. As simple as that. It is proven that the sales process is a numbers game. I mean, we all know this who are in the space. And depending on our closing rate, a yes comes before several no's. And my career changed when I started realizing and calculating what my closing rate was and identifying how many no's I needed to get to that yes. So simply put, to me, a no means one step closer to a yes.
Do you have any experience? You kind of mentioned it. Do you mind going? You alluded to that story, and I want to see if you could go a little bit deeper into it about how you came to that conclusion. Like, were you not keeping track of stuff, and then all of a sudden one day you're like, let me just kind of track this stuff now and make a science or make this into an actual process?
It's funny because when I think of my career and when I started realizing this, I got to go back all the way to almost the beginning. Since I played college soccer for a D2 school, we were fairly good. We won a national championship.
Part. What position did you play?
I was a left back. So if you know soccer, oh really? Yeah, we're the second below the crazy guy, which is the goalkeeper. Why would somebody run so much during the game? It's ridiculous. But
I know, right?
Anyway, that was my spot as left back. I made it a living for sure. So when I was in college, I was playing soccer and I had a small internship with the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City, Utah. And during that time, I promised myself I would be in professional sports. It was a passion point. It's something that I understood well. And it's something that I really knew I was going to thrive at. So a few years go by. I was working in a full-time job that was not related to sports, but I knew I needed to get into it. I was going to school full-time as well. And I needed my foot in the door somewhere. So there was a brand new professional team in my area, a major league soccer team that was coming to our city. And I said, that's my target. I need to get a job there. So I go knock on the door literally, and I got an internship with the sponsorship department. My job was very simple. I would just need to support the sponsorship team. I needed to help them by taking pictures of activations or help them, set up a banner at the stadium or meet a client at the gate to let them into the game. I mean, I was literally their secretary, if you will. But I knew that if I wanted to make an impact, and I knew that my goal was to get a job with the team, I needed to go an extra step, a step farther. So my shift was pretty simple. It was Monday and Wednesdays from 1 to 5 p.m. and then as well as every other game day. And so what I would do is that I would show up 2 hours before my shift. So I show up around 11 and I would sit down quietly with a notepad and listen to the sponsorship guy sell. And by the way, big shout out to Brooke Bingham, who was always a huge advocate of mine, a huge mentor, and he's led sponsorship space for a very, very long time. So big shout out to the guy. So I would sit behind Brooke Bingham and Todd Titus and these guys, and I would listen to what they were saying. And I would take notes and I would understand the process because my goal was to learn what they were doing. So I understood that their job was simple, was just to sell sponsorships. So a few weeks later, I went back to Mr. Bingham, if you will. I said, dude, what can I do? Give me somebody to call. Give me a category. Give me something. I know I don't understand much, but just give me something small, something that if we get a no, it's not going to be too bad. So he gives me this list of people. So then I start calling these people. I still showing up an hour before my shift. And I would call and call and call. How many yeses do you think I got?
2.
0. I got 0 yeses. And, 2 months go by and I'm thinking, holy crap. Instead of doing something to enhance my career, I think I actually pushed it back. I think now these guys think I'm a complete loser. So, thank goodness, knock on wood, thinking back, I think that showed more heart than anything. But then I thought I was doomed. My career in sports was gone. Gladly enough, they offered me a job a month later. And it wasn't because of the many yeses that I got, because I got zero. But dude, it wasn't until years after when I started realizing that, hey, all of those no's actually taught me something. They got me closer to this job, most importantly, but they shaped and they helped me understand what my sales technique was as a person and what I needed to do to turn those no's into yeses. And that's when I started to feel a little more confident, and I started to going after bigger fish and turning those no's into actual yeses. And it's all a system and it's all a process. And I would never have been able to understand that if it weren't for those 2 months and where I thought I was completely doomed. So that's when it all came together for me. That's when I really understood that a no was actually part of the process.
Hey, I know it's going pretty well and you want to continue the conversation with Cisco, and I do too. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, he's going to continue to share with you some more of the thoughts and insights that ties to this no. He's going to share how he's overcome his experiences with no, how he's helped others, and he's going to share that story that I mentioned to you, how he helped a sales rep that was trying to sell to him overcome a no. You're listening to the Sales Evangelist podcast, and I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. This episode is brought to you in part by Sales Success Summit. This is an event put on by my friend Scott Ingram in Austin, Texas this year, October 14th through the 15th. Scott has a podcast where he interviews some of the most successful sales reps in the entire country. These sales reps are the top 1%ers, and it's cool to figure out and to hear from them what makes them in this top echelon of sales reps. The conference is really unique too. You get a chance to interact and network and learn. One of the attendees last year, name is James Chrisman. Now, here's what James did. He built a network at the event. He worked for a small company in Chicago and then turned around, landing a job at Teradata in San Diego just because of going to the event. Fast forward to today, just finished up his first full year, and guess what? He closed his first multi-six-figure commission deal. You can't make this stuff up. I highly recommend you check out the event. Find all the details in the show notes, or go to top1summit.com. Again, top1summit.com. This episode is also brought to you in part by TSE Certified Sales Training Program. When I was a young sales rep and I had a difficult time closing the deal, a horrible time interacting with strong, confident buyers, or just didn't know what questions to ask, I went through a training program and then I learned all the fundamentals, and it was like magic. All of a sudden, the planets aligned and my performance went out the roof. I started to close some pretty decent sized deal, making some good money. And this is why I created TSE Certified Sales Training Program. I know that there's sellers out there, sales reps who are struggling at times, don't know what to do. Management probably don't have time to train them. Take part in TSE Certified Sales Training Program. We have the first 2 modules open for free. You can check it out. If you like it, you can get the other 10 modules, and we would love to have you join us for our group discussions each week. Find all the details by going back to the show notes or simply going to thesalesevangelist.com/free course. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/free course. Hey, we're back. And as we dive into the second half of this episode, listen to Cisco's experience, especially the story that he shares about a sales rep that wasn't on his team, but someone trying to sell to him, and how he helped that particular sales rep overcome and to get comfortable with getting no's. I'm your new hire, your new sales rep. Been working with you for 2 months now, or, just recently. I'm afraid of no. How would you help me to come to understand and to develop this? Because it's one thing to do it and to have gone through it. How can we help sellers who are going through this right now to become proficient in it and come to this understanding?
For sure. That's a good question. I think let's go back to the lion. I think the lion analogy is perfect. If lions had a very similar social capabilities as we as humans do, and when we think, we speak, we process thoughts in a different way, they would naturally feel down on themselves every time they miss that catch of prey. Because remember, for them is actual food. For them is actual survival. And it should be for us as well. So, but if they don't, they starve, right? But they're hunters. They're the king of the animal kingdom. And so when we think of them, we got to think of ourselves as lions. I'm telling you, brother, I would rather meet face to face a lion who just ate rather than a hungry lion. Wouldn't you? If I were in the middle of the jungle and I was by myself and I came face to face with a lion, I would prefer to see one that just ate, because I know that a hungry lion is going to be right. It's going to be that much more zealous to eat me because I'm prey. And I think that we need to help our teams, our sales team, understand that. We need to think as hunters. We need to think as people who depend on that yes. Therefore, that no is just one step closer to that. And if we understand that concept simply, we're going to be able to succeed. So again, a no is just a way to become more hungry, not desperate, hungry. Because we don't want to become desperate sellers and you just try to oversell something, because I guarantee you that your rate when you try to oversell is going to be a lot less. But if we're hungry and if we're patient, we're going to be able to turn those no's into yeses.
It's amazing too that we keep going with this lion thing, man. But people can smell that from a mile away when you're desperate.
For sure. For sure.
If I would rather, somebody, I've had situations where I had to tell people, I've told people no, that I couldn't work with them. And they came back again and they're persistent. And it wasn't trying to be a trick or anything. It's just that it wasn't going to work. And some of the biggest deals I've had came from me turning people down, as opposed to me saying, well, you know what? I can do this. I can make it work. We'll throw in an extra thing. When you're desperate.
Right. And
I don't know. I don't want to work with you, man. You're too desperate.
For sure. And I'm telling you, that desperate lion wouldn't be a successful lion. And again, that's the reason why they're the king of the jungle, is because they're persistent, but not persistent in a desperate way. They're persistent in a very intelligent way. Because when they get hungry, I personally believe, and I'm not an animal expert, or a Discovery Channel, enthusiast, but I would argue that a hungry lion is probably the most intelligent they are in their state of mind, because that's when they're stealth, that's when they're patient, that's when they're going to be a lot more effective in their kill. So when I think of your question, that's the best way to help sales teams understand how to overcome the no, is think like a lion, we're hungry, and no is just one step closer to that yes.
Have you ever helped somebody on your team? Any stories of a sales rep or someone that worked with you that got it and you saw them improve?
I really hope so. I think I have. I've received thank yous from previous team members who have assisted. But a story that comes to mind is actually super odd. It's not from a guy I led. I was actually on the buyer side, and he was selling to me. So a few years back, and this is probably the worst experience for a salesperson, is when the buyer teaches you something, but I hope that he's become a better salesman since. So a few years back, I worked for Wells Fargo Bank in the sponsorship department, where I oversaw a lot of different sponsorships and marketing initiatives for the bank, especially in the regional side of the Bay Area. So people would come to me with their sponsorship pitches and their sponsorship ideas and try to sell me into having Wells Fargo as a sponsor of whatever they were selling, anywhere from bowl games to boat races, you name it. They would sell me all these different things. So this specific sales guy was trying to sell me on this boat race around the Bay Area. It was very unique. It was very cool, but it just wasn't something that matched our brand and what we were looking for. I don't think I gave him that feedback right off the bat, so I don't know where he was started to, feel negativity. But within 5 minutes of the pitch, I started noticing his tone be a little down. His voice, I don't know this guy, so I don't know what he sounds like in real life, but you can kind of tell when that person is desperate and not hungry. So his tone was down and he sounded a little depressed. Again, I don't know the person, but that's kind of what I was getting from him. So within 5 minutes of the pitch, I noticed that his tone was down and he was feeling, very depressed. So a few minutes later, he talked himself out of the sale in a very odd way. He started saying things like, well, I've had a lot of people turn me down today. I don't see why a big brand like Wells Fargo would sponsor our event.
No.
So for some reason, yeah, I know. So I feel really bad. And again, I could tell in his tone, I don't know the kid, but I could tell in his tone that he felt down on himself. So for some reason, I saw myself in him. I saw myself as this, I assumed he was in his early 20s, but I saw myself in him. So I shifted the convo in a very odd way. And again, if I were the person selling, I would be completely depressed if this happened to me. But he was actually very, receptive to it. But I shifted the convo to start talking a little bit more about his process. So I asked him, hey man, how often do you get no's before you get a yes? And as you could imagine, his answer was, I have no idea. I've never calculated that. So I said, listen, I think that what you guys have is really cool. I want to see this in the Bay Area. Unfortunately, this is not for our bank, but I want to see it in the Bay Area. So I want to help you out and I want to help this come to life. So I'm going to challenge you to go back for the next week as you're making these sales calls, record how many people are telling you no before you get to a yes. And then we're going to calculate that ratio. So the dude comes back a week later and his voice completely changed. In fact, I remember vividly, the first thing he says to me was, Cisco, I got 33 no's before that yes. And he was so pumped about it. So now all of a sudden, these no's were not 33 awful experiences that he encountered. They were actually things that got him to a yes. So then we started working on, okay, what do we need to do to lower that number from 33 to 23 or to heck, even 30? Whatever it is that we need to do to start lowering that ratio. And we do that by identifying where our gaps are in our pitch or in our presentation or what we're saying. And maybe it is the way we're presenting the packages. And we started working on that. And unfortunately, I didn't follow up on the kid after weeks later because, you get busy and things happen in life. But it was really cool for me to see him get so pumped about getting 33 no's before he got a yes. Whereas before he was like, nah, I got a lot of no's today. I can't imagine a bank like yourself saying yes. So that's one experience that I think often too, in where is somebody that I'm not leading, somebody that I don't oversee, somebody that I was able to implement a very simple concept, and I hope it changed their sales experience.
Dude, that is so awesome and powerful. You probably changed that kid's life.
I mean, I hope so. I need to look back in my emails and see if I can remember his name and add him on LinkedIn. But, I hope that this new exercise helps him understand that this is just part of life. This is just one step closer to that yes.
Man, so good, man. I know we kind of, I wish I could keep you for like another hour and go through so much I want to discuss with you today. But I want to jump down to one of these questions I have written down. How to ensure that you don't give up easy even after the prospect says no, though? I know there's
Dude, I told you from the very beginning of the show, it's very hard, man. I mean, I've been doing this for 17, 18 years now, and I still to this day, when I'm pitching, because in our industry, we're pitching ourselves to these parents and these kids. We're telling them, I can be the best agent you can for your kid. I'm not selling a product that if it breaks, it's their problem or the service team's problem. I'm selling myself. It's literally a personal thing. So I still to this day get down because I want to get closer to that yes. However, what I would recommend everyone to do is find yourself a check me partner, quote unquote, check me partner. Find somebody that can check you back into reality. It could be your coworker. It could be your business partner. It could be another team member. It could be your boss. It could be anybody below you. It doesn't matter. Just somebody that could check you back into reality. In my case, it's actually my wife, oddly enough. I have asked her and I've coached her. I actually don't even think I needed to coach her. I think she saw me so depressed every time. So I asked her to remind me of 3 things. Number 1, what did you learn? Number 2, what can I do better next time? And number 3, that means you are one step closer to signing the next Ronaldo. And she tells me this every single time I go through that no depression and immediately bounce back. Again, I'm not sitting here and saying, oh, I've overcome negativity and no's. No, trust me, I'm the opposite. But this is the one solution I've found to be able to overcome that is find me a check me partner.
Oh, man. Well, I love that idea. And guys, if you want to find a friend, go into our Facebook group, the Sales Evangelizers, and connect with someone there. And, I think sometimes too, when I've gotten that situation when a buyer has, totally shot me down and it feels depressing, but you know what? You just got to keep on keeping on. And I feel sometimes too, where you should give up though,
Right.
And I think it goes back to the whole idea of not being too desperate, but you can figure it out where when something is not right, just move on and leave this one and know that the sun will shine tomorrow.
For sure. And again, go back to the lion analogy. If they would get the prey, then they wouldn't be hungry. If they weren't hungry, they wouldn't be as stealth and as intelligent in their hunting. So yeah, no is actually really good. And getting yourself down a little bit is actually good because it will motivate you to take that no into a yes.
We have, I want to get a few more questions asked before we wrap up here. But one of them is, how do you apply this to other areas in your life? Or any thoughts on how listeners can take this concept and outside of sales and apply it?
Oh man, I think this applies everywhere in our lives because our society is a society of positivity and negativity. Our society is a society of high emotions and low emotions, of happiness and sadness. And again, I think that without sadness, we wouldn't be able to enjoy happiness because there would be no contrast. So I think that this applies everywhere. You know, my wife and I have been building a house for 2 years, our dream home. And dude, I don't know if you know anything about construction, but homes shouldn't take 2 years to be built. So it was supposed to take 10 months. We hired a professional that was going to build it for us, a general contractor. It was a custom build. He came highly rated. We hired him. We found out that he had some felonies. We found out that he had some misconducts, especially in the mortgage space. And I took the job myself. I literally became the general contractor. We fired him. We sued him. And I took over the building of our home. For the past 3 months, I have been going through that emotional no, that emotional roller coaster, that emotional sadness of being able to overcome all of the things that he did wrong to us and fix them into yeses. And again, I'm not saying I'm an expert in overcoming rejection. I'm saying is I have identified the tools that help me understand how I can overcome those rejections. And this is a perfect example. I'm not a builder. I don't have any experience in this, but I'm telling you, dude, I have been able to build the most beautiful home, and it's better than what we thought it was going to be. And I say that with pride because I've been able to overcome all of that rejection and all that emotional roller coaster and to turn it into something beautiful.
Love it, man. If there's one takeaway folks listening to this episode should walk away with, what's that one major piece of advice?
I would say that dealing with rejection is a necessary evil to achieving heavenly success. You can't have heaven if you don't have evil. You can't have happiness if you don't have sadness. So dealing with that rejection is a necessary evil to the heavenly success. And no is just one step in your staircase to achieving something great. If you think of a staircase, let's say that it takes you 10 no's to get to the top of that success. Think of a no as one step in that staircase. And I think that's my takeaway.
Love it, man. This is some good stuff. If folks listening want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing so, Cisco?
Follow me on social media. I'm very, very active on Instagram. It's at Cisco Terreros, and follow me there. And if anybody wants to shoot me an email, they can do it through there as well.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. Thank you. Thank you. We'll link back in the show notes. And let's go out and get some no's so we can ultimately get some yes, man.
For sure, man. Think like lions. We're hunters. We're doers. We can get it.
There you go. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, brother. Thank you.
I'm telling you, dude is a cool man. If you want to connect with him and learn a little bit more about Cisco, just go back to the show notes. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, swipe up on a cover art. You'll see some links going back to his sports agency, as well as some of the links to things that he mentioned in this particular episode. Again, dude is way down to earth, super humble and super successful. And it's an honor to be able to meet individuals like Cisco and to be able to work and to connect with them. And I recommend you do the same as well. If you know somebody who is a footballer or somebody in the marketing world that could connect with them, go ahead and connect them as well. This is why we do this stuff too, man. We want to connect people and get people in the right direction. And if you could get benefited or Cisco could get benefited or something that he shared could help you out, that's a good thing, right? Yeah, man, let's do it. Now go back in the show notes, check out TSE Certified Sales Training Program. Remember, the first 2 modules are absolutely free. The rest of the modules, when you pay and become a member, you'll get access to our community as well as those modules as well. I want you guys to get a taste first and to see how you like it. Also, check out Sales Success Summit. It will be held this year, October 14th through the 15th in Austin, Texas. You can find a link back in the show notes. Learn from the top 1%ers in sales, those individuals that are just crushing it. Find out what they're doing and how they're doing it. It is an amazing event. Big shout out to Scott Ingram. I share stuff like this with you. I bring folks like Cisco on. I tell you about these events. I share books. I give you all of my secrets because I want you to be successful. I want you to find more ideal customers. I want you to build stronger value. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want to challenge you each and every single day to go out and do big things. Stay tuned for a scene from our next episode.
having a level of confidence. And this fits in with the sales that you were talking about, because you have to be confident to pitch. You're literally selling your concept, your company, how you're going to grow it to these investors. So you have to have a level of confidence. And then the third is character. And again, Howard Stevenson said in his book, the first time I hear an exaggeration or a half-truth, I run, not walk. I will lose all my money. So they're really looking at your character in a substantial way.
Hey, listen, I hope you enjoyed the episode today as much as I did. And if so, I ask that you go ahead and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to fine podcasts. It goes a long way. This is my birthday month, man. And if I could get some more of you leaving your testimonial about how you love the show, that'll make me feel really happy. It would be an awesome birthday gift. And to top it off, I'm going to pick a few of them and read them on one of our upcoming episodes. How about that? I appreciate you. Our show today was produced by myself and the Sales Podcast Network. It was edited and mixed together by the one and only Jershon O'Bale. Our guest correspondent is May Marr. Our amazing artworks are created by Dessen. Our show note were created by Rael. And our podcast production manager is Mrs. Shannon Rasmussen. You can find audio credits in each of our show notes. And as always, I am your host, your coach, your mentor, your guide down the sales journey, Mr. Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. Sales Podcast Network.